smell of blow in my cloak. Like Krispy Kreme, I was cooking the moans. Like horseshoes, I was tossing the moans. Time to re-up, gotta recycle the flow.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Gym Blend Podcast. My name is JJ.
My name is Kerry.
Give y'all first guess.
I feel honored, JJ.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. We're going to talk sports today.
All right, cool. Let's
So,
do it. Let's get into it.
Let's give the people a little background about yourself. Like, where are you from?
So I'm from Garner, North Carolina. Born in Raleigh, grew up in Garner kid. Mm-hmm. Garner is a sports town known for football primarily, going back to the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, really known for basketball as well. So really a sports town. Baseball has had some good years, as well as the softball team. 2 years ago, I believe they won the state tournament for softball. Yeah, so good sports here in Garner. That's really what fueled me as a sports fan, as well as being on Tobacco Road here with North Carolina, NC State, Duke right here in the backyard. So that really fueled my sports fandom. So that's where it all started for me with sports.
So what age do you think you got into sports?
Definitively for me, it was 1983 at the age of almost 5 when North Carolina State won the national championship with Jim Valvano. Okay. So that team was really one, as a kid, certain things really stick out to you. As a kid, things that really are imprinted on your memory, and that was one. Driving down, Mom took us downtown Raleigh, over by NC State right after they won the national championship, and I just remember seeing the students celebrate, and it's just something you'll never forget. Me plastered on the window as a kid, seeing other kids, college students celebrate. That made me become an NC State fan. That run they had in '83, and then kind of also I would say is a big part of my life as far as my fandom in sports.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never got to experience that every time. Yeah. I was born and State never did nothing. Well, we got the ACC championship the other year.
Right, and that run, that was a magical run they had.
So I got to see something. Final Four run, so.
Yeah, that was a magical run. I actually thought they were going to be able to do it that year. I thought it felt like 83, even though I was a kid then. It kind of had those 83 vibes to it, but couldn't do it in the end, but still a magical run for those guys.
Well, at least you got to see it in your lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. As a State fan, you don't always get to, you think you might not see that again, but that was a cool
I just went to the Kansas game the other day.
Oh, man, that was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, good game.
Yeah, it was a good game.
But not the outcome we wanted as State fans.
Yeah,
but,
I know. We had our chance, but.
Yeah.
All right. So what sport did you start off with growing up?
Well, baseball was the first sport I played, really. Okay. Baseball here. The local, it's called GBI, Garner Baseball Incorporated, is the local organization. My sons actually play GBI now, so shout out to GBI. I started there as a 5-year-old. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, playing baseball. Wasn't the best. I had a little bit of speed. Couldn't hit the ball all that well.
I was never good at baseball.
But enjoyed playing the game, and then transitioned to basketball, and that became my love when I started playing organized basketball, really following basketball. And then football came a little bit later, but I'm an avid football fan as well. Yeah,
cool. So, what was your best sport?
For sure, basketball.
Basketball.
So basketball was my best sport. I think trying to use for attributes is funny. When you talk about sports, and now coaching a little bit, you want to try to get kids to take sports as a life lesson, right? So. Not everybody's going to be Michael Jordan. Not everybody's going to be, name whatever figure you want to insert into the sentence. Not everybody's going to be that, but you can take your attributes in a team setting and really impact the outcome, or impact winning, or impact whatever the goals the teams are trying to achieve. So I would say that for sure basketball was my best sport, but I think you learn a little something from every sport that you ever play, even individual sports, outside of team sports. I think as a kid growing up, that's why sports are so important. You can learn a little bit that can really be a life lesson for you going forward.
Yeah, as far as like leadership skills and
Absolutely.
Teamwork and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, and then you apply those to your life. You apply that to the classroom. I think that's the part that doesn't get talked about all the time, right?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
But you want to apply that to the classroom, those lessons that you get. But also to life, life isn't always easy. We get thrown curveballs all the time. We'll probably get into that a little bit too. Yeah. But those things that you learn in sports are always important to help apply those things to the real world.
Okay. And I almost forgot to ask you the most important question. What generation are you a part of? You a Gen X, Millennial?
X.
Gen X.
Gen X,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Just like my mama.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
cool.
so you know, my kids would tell me I have all the attributes of a Gen Xer. So,
Yeah.
they like to slide me into baby boomer. I'm not that old.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they like to
do.
try to slide me into that. But no, for sure, Gen X.
Okay. Bet. So I'm gonna ask you too. I know, like when I was in school playing basketball, you was like doing like some reporting on athletes and stuff like that. So can we get in that? Like, what was you doing around that time?
So that was actually kind of a lead up to what I'm doing now. So at the time, you're not that old, JJ. I mean, you know you're of the generation of, before the generation now, kind of putting it in the whole Gen Blend context. But you came around. You were playing at a time where we were starting to get into the age where, you know, smartphones were starting to come out, a little bit more social media, but there was still a void for high school athletes and just getting the notoriety, getting the, you know, what can I say, making themselves more known in an age where I thought you could. And we were coming out of an era where if coaches didn't see you at the high school level, and not so much on the grassroots level, I'm sure we'll probably get into that a little bit too, then a lot of times your opportunities were limited. So I was thinking about, you know, how can I impact and make it to where kids that might not be as well known, to make them more well known. There were some markets at the time where they were doing, they had a little bit more coverage from, I would say, a traditional news standpoint. But coming into the boom of the internet era, I thought, you know, why not create something where high school kids in the Triangle area, it was called Triangle Hoops at the time, trianglehoops.net. At the time, it was to where you could go on, and I was doing straight reporting. It was a lot of time and effort, but straight reporting, videos, photos. I did a weekly ranking every week, tried to highlight some of the kids. And I would do some reporting. The whole reason behind the in-depth reporting, or going into a little bit of detail on what the kids did, maybe some of the kids off the bench, or maybe some of the other starters that weren't stars, to give them a little bit of pub and love. And maybe this is their opportunity. Maybe their one opportunity, or maybe not, for somebody to read it, maybe for their grandparents, parents, aunties, uncles, but give them a chance, a little bit of light in being recognized in something they love to do, and they put the time and effort in as well. But ultimately, it was really for the guys that were good, to have that one person maybe to say, hey, I got to look because of what you did, or based on what you showed the masses, I was able to get the scholarship opportunity. That was kind of the whole goal behind it, to give more recognition to the kids.
Yeah, I know. I appreciated that one post you had on one of my games. So that was a
I think you had like, I can't remember the exact stat line, Jay, but I think you had about 18 that night, something like that. I remember I had 20 at the half, but then I only ended up with 25. Okay.
So I was like, because
you put it in.
Yeah, the coach. I don't know why the coach told me, like, he changed the whole game plan, like wanted me to be less aggressive.
Okay.
And I only had 5 points in the second half.
Okay.
I regretted
Wanted
that.
you to facilitate a little bit.
I get a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know what happened that game. We should have. It was against Raleigh Charter.
Okay.
I remember that.
I remember the gym and everything. I remember you had a good night scoring. Okay, 25.
Yeah, 20. I had 25 that game. So, but yeah, that's like around the era where like Hoop Mixtape and all that was come. Baller's Life started out.
Rivals
really didn't get
Rivals was starting to really take off at that time. I remember they were starting their service off, and it was very similar to how it is today. Obviously, they've added some new features and layers to it, but that was big. But again, at that time, I felt like, and it's sort of like that still today, I felt like at that time, some of the local-ish kids maybe weren't getting pub, maybe they weren't seen, maybe they didn't go to a showcase.
Think so. Right? Yeah, I think you really only got looked at if you went to camps or a showcase or something like that. So, and I try to go to a few showcases like Reebok and 5-Star Camp and stuff like that, but if you already known, they gonna show favoritism to them kids that are like, they just a freak of nature. They athletic, tall, big. And I'm only like 5'10", so
And you know, everybody matures at different rates.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes your body matures. I know once I went to college, I probably grew another 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches after I went to school. So
I wish I got that. My dad's 6'8". I ain't get none of that height.
But you know, everybody matures at different levels, and you have different skill levels. It's just good to give everybody a chance. I think, you know, with what I'm doing now, we'll probably get into it a little bit, but with what I'm doing now, really leveraging technology to advance that even further. So taking it a step further from what I was doing before and kind of going to the next level where technology is today, kind of putting it in the generational context again. These kids today have an advantage that you or I didn't have.
Yeah, they do.
Definitely did our parents didn't have, right? Where it makes it so technology makes it easier and more affordable to get your message out, your branding out.
And you reach more eyes too. Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah, very
right.
instantly.
Instantly, right.
Like these kids, I feel like everybody now they have a mixtape or highlight tape. Yeah.
And really, if you think that you can go to the next level, you almost have to.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
You have to. And it's the how affordable it is, and of course it takes a little bit of effort and sweat equity to make the highlights, to edit them. You know, you probably know a little bit about editing, right? Doing what you're doing, but it pays off in the long run to have that, even if it's just a keepsake for you and your family to say, okay, in this period of time, this is what we were doing, and this is what I was doing. You know, to show your kids or grandkids or whatever. I think it's kind of cool that is available, and it's just another part of life these days.
Okay, all right. So and we're gonna get into that later on about what you doing now with your technology and stuff like that. But so what would you say the difference is between like the kids nowadays and like they academic, like school and sports, like how they balance between their academics and
Oh, that's a good question, Jay.
working out and stuff like that.
I think that if there's one thing that I would say about the kids that are really serious today, their schedules are regimented almost like a military schedule. You know, I think about the kids that I know that do swimming on a really competitive basis. If you take a look at their schedules, it's absolutely ridiculous. So they do morning workouts, and then they do some kind of conditioning after the morning workouts. Maybe then they go to school, and then they have afternoon, and then it's schoolwork, and then it's right back at it again, right? Same thing with the kids that really hoop like that. You know, they have morning workouts, right? Then they go to school. They have practice if it's in season, and then sometimes they have workouts after school practice.
Yep.
And then they have to squeeze in their schoolwork.
Yeah, social life.
And then it's right back at it again, right? So you got to sleep. That's an important part. Kids, that's an important part of it. Sleep and diet, important parts of the equation. But I would say the biggest difference, though, it's a hindrance, but it's also the aid to them is technology. Yeah. Right. So we walk around every day with a computer in our pocket. And I would venture to say that anybody who's watching this podcast right now, they're probably watching it. They probably have more people watching it on your phone than on their computer.
Right.
Or maybe
in our analytics, when I look on YouTube, it's mostly just mobile devices.
So kids have that distraction. Yeah. They have a lot of information in their hands. They can take control of a lot too by having that in their hands. It also puts a little bit of a burden on parents to make sure they're monitoring that. So it's a whole host of different factors that even you being a millennial didn't have to worry about. And for me, definitely Gen X, we didn't have to worry about those things.
The social media and stuff, and
right, and what you say lives forever.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta watch out what you post and what you're doing, because people could be recording you and stuff and posting it. So or
even you sometimes you feel like I think all of us are probably falling victim to this. You're sitting at home, you're by yourself maybe, and you're on social media and you want to react to something. You're by yourself, but the whole world sees what you're posting. And it lasts forever. So I think that for kids, there are a lot more, I'll say, pitfalls to watch out for. I think though the positive thing is I see a lot of kids that are really dedicated to what they're doing and that really push themselves to get to whatever that next level is. Maybe it's becoming a starter. Maybe it's getting a look from a Division II school. Maybe it's getting a look from a Division I school. I don't know. Whatever that goal is, I see a lot of kids that are goal oriented. I think that in my generation, a lot of us we just played. And
I was gonna say that's the difference. Like I remember just going outside and just playing basketball.
Just played.
I didn't have no trainer or doing
Right.
drills and stuff. Just just played all the time.
Dirt, concrete, cement. We just played.
No matter how hot it was.
Sometimes how cold it was. You just go out and play.
Yep.
And talking to coaches, having conversations with some coaches, that's what they'll tell you too. A lot of the kids, and I'll put this in a perspective of basketball because that's what I talk about a lot. But I think this can be a little bit broader conversation. But they say kids just need to play more. You hear that from coaches. The training is top notch. I've heard some coaches, some major D1 coaches say the training is top notch. Kids can do individual moves, but the 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 is what they need more of. I'm sure some coaches, you probably talked to some coaches that have said the same thing, but we just played. We didn't have those distractions of the computer in your pocket. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the only distraction was probably the TV, computer, and video games. Yeah. So, and then we were limited on that.
Yeah, facts,
we were limited on what we could do with that. So, I think it's the good and the bad. You can take control of your whole process, really, by having that computer between social media and the things you can put out there and really brand and market yourself. But at the same time, that can be a major, major distraction.
Yeah. So, what would you think separates an elite athlete from like an average athlete?
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a deep one, JJ. I always tell people when it comes to, especially we'll go to high school athletics. What really separates, in my mind, a kid that is probably, you say average kid, maybe a good player in high school versus a player that's a top-notch player. First of all, you have to, most of the times, I'll say 9 times out of 10, you got to have what I call a genetic lottery.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to have the physical attributes that the college coaches are looking for. And usually that just jumps off the field or the court or whatever. You can see it when you go to watch a kid play. Then after that, it's that tenacity. It gets the moniker of a dog. You got to have the dog in you. Yeah. And it's that grit, that determination that I'm going to make this happen no matter what. Yeah. And then the last one that I think gets overlooked a little bit is attitude. Yeah. And effort and attitude, I always tell the kids I coach, the things that you can control are effort and attitude. Okay. So attitude is a big one. Kids sometimes don't realize that. I heard of a funny one about that one, JJ, about attitude. It was a female college coach. I can't remember what school she was from, but she mentioned that when they're recruiting a kid, there's one of the players that they want. This is not a fringe player. This is a player they want. They'll purposely come. They'll send the recruiter to a game, and sometimes she'll go to a game that she knows is going to be like the biggest game, maybe a rivalry game or a tough game, purposely on a tough game. Not to see how many points the girl scores, not rebounds, not assists. That's all important. But she wants to see how that player reacts to adversity. Okay. What's your attitude?
Like high pressure moments and stuff.
How do you handle pressure moments? How do you handle when things aren't going your way?
Not having a good game, like are you hanging your head and stuff like that? Yeah.
How do you treat your teammates? You lift your teammates up. Are you hanging your head? Are you letting what's going on the court affect your play? Yeah. So that's important to coaches too. I think that kind of gets lost a lot of times with what we see on Saturdays and Sundays, right? When the lights are on, we see the passes, we see the rebounds, we see the scoring, we see the speed, we see the jumping ability. Yeah. But coaches also look for attitude and effort. Yeah.
So I know one thing though too that I hear a lot of like professional athletes talk about is you gotta have a little bit of delusion too. Absolutely. Like a little bit of cockiness and confidence. Well, not cockiness, but confidence. Yeah. You gotta have it. Yeah. So you gotta be like, even though you might not be the best, you gotta think you the best.
And you see it all the time. If one of the things, I guess it's a gift and a curse. I watch sports all the time. And one of the things you'll see is that there's a player out there, and I'll say to myself, he thinks he's as good as LeBron.
Dylan Brooks.
Yeah. Dylan Brooks. He's as good, but that's why he's there, right? Yeah. That's what makes him who he is. That's how he got there. So
it was going at it the other night. Yeah.
I missed it. I heard about it. I had some stuff going. I missed it, but I heard it was last night. Right? Yeah, they
him and LeBron always going at each other. But like, you can't mess with LeBron. Why you keep doing this?
But you have to have that delusion. You have to say that I'm the best. If not, you might not make it.
Yeah, you don't know. Back down.
Right, and you don't know what that player's you don't always know what that player's background. Maybe they were a late bloomer. Maybe they had to fight and dig for everything they got. So they have to have that delusion that when I step on the court or step on the track or when I get behind this net in volleyball or tennis, I'm the best.
Yeah.
And nobody's gonna knock me. They're gonna have to come and take it.
Yeah. All right. And I'm gonna bring it back to school a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I know, well, I don't know, but I've seen like a few athletes that like could have made it to like a high level, but their grades in high school wouldn't let them get to like a D1,
right?
Or they just couldn't get it right in classroom. Like, how important is that for athletes to know, like, keep your head in the books?
Yeah. So one of the things, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit, but with the company I'm with now, we always tell parents that academics and eligibility are top priority. You can be the best whatever, but this is not 1974 anymore, right? There was a time where if you were, I think it still holds true, if you're good enough, in large part, they'll find you.
Yeah.
That's one thing that kind of holds true, right? And it makes it easier with the technology we have.
Yeah.
But going back, rewind the clock a little bit, if you were ineligible for academics, sometimes they find a way to make sure you get onto the field or to the court. That may be able to happen at the high school level a little bit, you know, and the resources are there to help you out. But when we talk about college athletics, there are strict rules about eligibility. We may get into NIL and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but you know, it's becoming more professionalized, but there's still a scholastic institution, and they have eligibility requirements.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you're taking advantage of the resources that are afforded to you, whether it's tutoring, but really it's just the effort.
Yeah.
I think that's the most disappointing thing when I see somebody with talent, from an athletic perspective, and obviously they put the effort in, right? Because they've gotten to where they are, but they don't put the effort in when it comes to academics, and they could avoid a lot of problems just with sheer effort. Yeah, right. Getting the work done, trying to do the work.
Yeah. Then you get them some athletes, or they kind of like try to like cruise by and just do enough, and then when they get to college, it's even harder, and then because college is hard enough just being a regular student.
It is. Yeah.
You got to balance traveling with the team, the games and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's even more harder than that. So because you're not in class like learning and stuff with the rest of the students,
right? And they do have resources for those ladies and gentlemen that play college sports. But you're right, their schedules it's like a job, and for all of you out there that want to play college sports at any level, I'll tell you, from NAIA Division III all up to Division I. It's like a job. And you better have a way that, or at least have a thought pattern and a process in your head that you're going to be able to handle your academics. I talk to my daughter all the time. She's in high school. I talk to her and my son about, really all my kids, about making sure you in high school, you should develop and figure out how you learn. That's one thing, the things that I didn't do. I didn't really know how I learned until I got to college. But if you can figure out in high school how you learn, you're ahead of the game, and it will help you in that piece, that eligibility part we just talked about. It'll help you immensely. If you know how you learn, then you can talk to teachers about, what helps you, different resources, going back to that term I've used a lot, but different resources that you can get along the way to help you remain eligible and be the best you can be in the classroom and on the field or court.
Okay, cool. So, if you could give one piece of advice to a young athlete, what would it be?
I would say it's a marathon, not a sprint. And what I mean by that is, we talked about NIL and we didn't talk about the transfer thing yet, the transfer portal. But in these days, we talked about being late bloomers and growing later in life. Where you start is not always where you finish. So that's the biggest advice I would have. There's so many opportunities out here, whether it be JUCO, different levels of athletics. If you want to continue your athletic career, don't be discouraged. I would say keep honing your skills. Make sure we do what we just talked about. Make sure you remain eligible and your academics are still a big part of it. But don't ever give up on your dream. Continue to work hard. Work even harder. If they say you're not good enough, work even harder. If you're not getting the right pub, figure out a way to make yourself more known. But make sure that you're not discouraged, because life is long. Sports are an important part of your life right now as a kid, or I won't say a kid, as a teenager, or for most people, young adult, teenager. Sports are an important part.
That's a tool to get some people in college. Exactly. They don't have the money to get to college, get scholarships and stuff.
Absolutely. But it's not the end all be all, right? So life is long and it's very important right now. I know it is, but it's a marathon. It's not a race.
I'll say with me, of my personal experience, I didn't get that, and my mindset was like, if I don't get a D1, like I'm not going to try to go. I'm not going to try to.
A lot of kids.
Yeah. So, but sometimes I regret it. But like I should have just went D1 and tried to get better, and maybe transfer to a higher division. But at the same time, I was being real with myself. Like I didn't have my growth spurt. I was always skinny, so I was like, you know what, like I just need to get a degree so I can, have a career instead of. Sometimes you gotta have that realization for yourself that
I was gonna say
not everybody makes it to the pros.
you have to have that balance of realism and then that kind of that delusion you're talking about, where you wanna keep getting better, you wanna keep doing those things to make yourself the best possible version of yourself whenever you're competing. But I think that you also have to have a dose of realism. Yeah. But you said something important. I think that these days it's a lot different than how it was, where your eligibility is not necessarily eaten up if you go to a JUCO. Yeah. So you still have more years left if you wanna go up. There are several stories out there. You can go and search them pretty easily online of kids that are playing right now. You'll see them playing major college football, major college basketball, major college baseball. That started out at a lower level and their bodies matured. They got better. They got that coaching. That A1 coaching at whatever level they were, and they just got better and grew a little bit, grew into their bodies, and they were able to transition. And they even like Last Chance U on Netflix, like that's a prime example. Absolutely. Well, a lot of them like they had made bad decisions, but like they academics wasn't good either, so they used that as their last chance to get to the next level. But I think you make a good point. And that's why I say it's a marathon, not a race. Yeah. Had you talked to most of the people at those kids' high school, they probably would say, "Man, he messed up. He blew his chance to do whatever. Yeah. He was really good, but he blew his chance. But there's another chance. The only thing you can't come back from is most of the time is a major felony crime. Yeah. Or if you get into things where you are putting your bodily health in jeopardy. Yeah. Whether it be drugs, heavy alcohol use. Yeah. Those things that really harm your body. But outside of that, man, there are a lot of opportunities out here, inside and outside of sports. All right, y'all. So we're going to go get to the NIL, but we're going to say that for the next episode. So if y'all want to get into the NIL and some other things, because we about to get into the meat and potatoes of stuff that people really need to hear. So come back next week for another episode, and we'll talk part 2.
Been killing them ever since. Get paid to tell the truth, dog. It only makes sense. When they play that new G's, all the dope boys go crazy. And watch the dope boys go crazy. I pop my collar, then I swing my chain. You can catch me in the club, doing my thing.